My name is Morgan Wairiu, and I'm the Deputy Director for the Pacific Center for Climate Change and Sustainable Development here at the University of the South Pacific. We assess the impacts, the magnitude of the impacts, and then we look at what are the best adaptation options that can be used to address the impacts. Not only that we do research, but we build the capacity of the Pacific Islanders. And there is a great satisfaction when you see young leaders, that you help train them coming out from this institute and going back into their government and taking the lead in terms of doing actual adaptation work in the field or assisting the government in terms of negotiating. So we had around 20 of our alumni representing almost all the Pacific Island countries at the COP 24 last year in Katowice. Since we are at the forefront of the impact of climate change, we experience the impacts almost every day in our lives. We experience extreme events like tropical cyclones, flooding, drought, as well as those slow onset events like sea level rise. As the sea level rises, the groundwater also rises on land, and that sea infiltrates that groundwater lands. So once the salt concentration in the groundwater increases, then it starts affecting the water quality in terms of human use as well as crop production. And that's directly affecting their survival and their right to exist on the earth. The science is very clear in terms of the limiting warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius, because all countries or all parties to the Climate Change Convention need to reduce their emissions by 45% by year 2030 or reach net zero emissions by year 2050. And there are different pathways that has been proposed in order for parties or countries to reach this level of emissions. If there is a will, it's geophysically possible to reduce the emissions and cap the temperature increase to even less than 1.5 degrees. But nobody is taking that drastic action. So that's why the Pacific Island countries are negotiating to cap further temperature increase at 1.5, because that's the maximum temperature regime that we are able to reach before the whole ecosystem within the Pacific actually destroyed. And it's a concern for survival of humans within the Pacific Island countries. I strongly believe that this will be a good option to bring in the human rights law into the climate change space. 24 years of diplomacy, of negotiations, we are not going anywhere, and we are increasing the global average temperature every year. There is the Paris Agreement, but again, the target that is set under the Paris Agreement, actions are not being taken to reach those targets. Emissions keep increasing, and I don't think that diplomacy will take us anywhere. So we really urgently need to be looking at other options that will bring drastic change and reduce emissions. So the issue of human rights and law, I think is a good option to take.